Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Nimbatus with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to an episode which I really hope will be a very simple, very straightforward, and easy one. Today, we're going to be testing out an idea that quite a few people have recommended to me. I must say, your ideas are absolutely killing it. They are doing so well, and this is something I really wouldn't have thought of, and if it does work, as I think it should do, it's just really good. Now, sadly, it won't be part of any of our recent builds, so I will need to start a brand new drone again. And the idea for this design is this. The drone core itself is going to be dropped straight into the harvesting barrel, the harvesting box, at the start of the map, which is honestly a little bit weird, but the reason for this is then we can have a satellite which can be commanded to go back over the drone core, similar to how the original satellite worked. It simply hovers over the drone core, which can then be swapped by using a switch to go back to following your mouse. So essentially, it can automatically go ahead and drop off resources, and then come back to you. That way, you don't have to go back to the main Nimbatus every time you drop off resources. Now, I will say, I don't think there are enough resources on most maps for this really to be worth it, but a lot of the stuff we've been doing hasn't been the most efficient way of doing things. It's just been fun ways, and ways to test out different mechanics in the game. So if this works, definitely an idea to bring forwards, and honestly, it should work. I can't see why it wouldn't. But let's find out nice and quickly. So, in the very core, I do of course need a directional sensor. So we're going to need 2 of these. 3 of these, in fact, now I think about it. 1 for gravity, to stabilize, 1 to follow the cursor, and 1 to follow the drone core, which is truly bizarre. So the gravity one we can just remove for the time being because that can be used at the end. These 2 will interact with each other, and we need to be able to turn one off and the other one on at the swap of a button, which should be okay. Now, I do want this to start off following the drone core. I don't want this following my mouse straight away, because that's just really annoying. But then, we need to be able to swap it to mouse control again, and we need a small drone to follow along with this as well. This is just a testing of an idea episode, so don't expect a finalized project, although to be honest, that's been every single episode so far. Also meant to say product. Words. There we are. Press it again, and it should no longer lock back on. Let's just manually move this. And ta-da. Now we just need the opposite, so it will follow the cursor instead, and that should just be literally the opposite of what we've just done. Currently I'm just using AND gates, so now I just need it so that when the input is not active, then the directional sensor can simply... not this one, but this one, the cursor directional sensor, can then get its signal to the thrusters, so I can swap it back and forth. And that means no matter where I am on the planet, this should return back to the drone core, which will always be at the Nimbatus. In fact, we could go one further, which is really silly, but we could, and we could make this completely manually controlled, and then press a button, and then automatically go home, if we're really, really lazy. But I don't quite see the purpose in that, other than just to say, aha, I've done this, but that should be really easy. Because we could just have 2 directional sensors following the cursor, and then just go directly to where the cursor is, or just have all that set up to block the manual signals. Yeah, that would be really easy, just essentially what we're doing, but with manual rather than the second sensor. Anyway, let's get this sorted, make sure it works, then we can do some field tests. So I've went ahead and swapped it as well, so to begin with, we're trying to get to the core. We now press space, and we are following the mouse. We press space again, the mouse no longer affects anything, and we are returning home. Lovely and simple. Now, the reason why I don't want to do this with the other satellite we've built is because the other satellite also brings all the weaponry and everything else, so sending that home will just be really annoying, because so suddenly we lose our ability to dig, or damage enemies, or do any mission type. We may as well leave that with us. This is a companion drone in a more loose sense. It's just an assistance drone. We simply summon it back to us when we need to give it cargo, and then send it away. That's all it's going to do. That's its entire purpose in life. Which means we do need other drones, like right now. So we also want combat drones, etc., etc., which can all branch off the drone core as well. In fact, what I could do is maybe move this further away like this, then put the combat drone there. That way, if the combat/harvesting drone is destroyed, and this is currently in the bin, essentially, we can just summon it out to the bin over and over again. If we want unlimited lives, which I am still getting a little bit bored with, honestly, but it's definitely the best way to go about things. A little while later, please ignore the shaking. So, follow the mouse. Good. Go back to the drone, no longer activating the mouse. Good. And now if I press Alt, we can change its altitude, similar to the other satellite. So we can go down and accept resources, but we don't have the sensors yet, so it will crash into the floor. Lovely. So, add sensors, and then the satellite, I think, is good enough to add the magnet to, and then we just build a very simple harvester/combat drone, and then the fetch and carry assistance vehicle is pretty much done. Trying to figure out something here, which probably has a very simple solution, but I am finding incredibly difficult to figure out. So, I would like one more part of this to be automatic. I want the magnet here to know that it's above the drone core, and then turn off. Otherwise, what we're going to have to do is look at the minimap, which will give us a blip as to where this is, because I have attached a camera, and then once it's above the Nimbatus resource silo, we press a button, the magnet turns off, and then we press another button, and it comes back to our harvester. All nice and simple, but I don't want to have to do that manual pressing. I would like it to go above the drone core, and then just release the cargo. No need to press more buttons, all nicely automated. How do we do that? The problem is, with the directional sensor with the drone core, we have tilted right, and we have tilted left. But that's not particularly useful, because we don't have directly above, and these won't activate at the same time, even if you have tolerance 0, or at least, I believe they won't. Let's find out. Oh, tolerance 1, so yeah, they would never activate at the same time, exactly. So what we could perhaps do is maybe extend the impulse. Now, this drone will always slightly overshoot the drone core. So if we extended the impulse by even just a second, we could have both of them activate at the same time, and then activate a kill switch. The kill switch would then turn off the magnet until it's reactivated, which would only happen manually. That bit, I don't mind being manual because we need to sort out the other drone as well. But then we have the problem of these things being activated by the directional sensor. You see, this is why I can't figure it out, because there's a few too many variables. Now, I'm sure there's a way of doing this, and so I'm going to figure it out. So, instantly there's a solution. I forgot that the buffer gate doesn't buffer its own input. It buffers an output, which activates once an input is given. So, all we need to do is input these, 6 and 5. So, one of you will be 6. That's Alpha 6, right? Yes, indeed it is. One of you will be Alpha 6. Copy and paste. We'll put these somewhere neater in a second. Just pop them here for now. You will be Alpha 5, was it? Yes, it is. Once again, I will eventually use the tag system, I promise. And then both of you give different outputs. When both of them are then active, you turn off the magnet. So once it's overshot, it will automatically turn off the magnet. But that does very much require the overshoot to occur, which is fine, because it will always overshoot a little bit. So if we set this to 1 tolerance, that should work. But this seems like a really unclean solution. To be fair, if you've seen how I've done these logic gates, it's a very unclean solution. Clearly there's better ways of using the more complex gates, still on a very novice level. Okay, this should work. I've rigged this to an off and on switch. There we are. On is manual, but off is also manual, but will also be activated under one condition. Well, 2 conditions. First of all, we are currently set up to go back to the drone core. That's one of the conditions. So whilst I'm in mouse form, it simply won't turn off by itself. The second condition is that both of these thrusters have been activated within 10 seconds of each other. This will then cause that to turn off, in theory. So I've just gave it back to drone control. Once it goes above the drone core, it should automatically, there we go, swap the magnet off. Then we go back to mouse control. That shouldn't turn itself back on. That's what I'm testing right now. No, it doesn't, but then manual turn on. I don't want an automatic turn on, although that wouldn't be too difficult at this point. I just want that manually controlled. Okay. Now, just to make sure I can turn it off automatically as well. Sorry, manually as well. The word manual and automatic are suddenly becoming very confused to me. This should now be complete. We should have everything, although at some point I need to look at these logic gates and figure out more simple ways which use less gates. But I'm still learning the basics and I'm quite happy with how this works. So, we have an on and off switch at the bottom here. Nice and simple. On is manual with left control, off is also manual with left shift, and then the output is F4, which is to turn on the magnet. There we are. On. It will get the off command from this AND gate here, which wants both of these buffers to be active. Now, these buffers will only activate when the directional sensor gives a command to either go left or right. But it needs both of them active, which will only happen if we are directly above the drone core, because this will consistently overshoot very slightly because it has tolerance 1. In testing, even on high air resistance worlds, this is incredibly consistent. It will keep on overshooting for all eternity. And honestly, it looks fine. It's only slightly overshooting by 1 or 2 tiles, but then it just rocks back and forth above the drone, which will constantly activate this. I'm sure there's a way to do that better, to essentially give a different input, but for now, the buffer gates work just fine using the directional sensor, so it's functionally fine. It's just not very elegant, which I think is most of my builds at the moment. They all work, but my god, I need to learn some more elegant ways to use the logic gates. So, let's give this a test, and it should work out. So first of all, let's release the mouse. There we are. Release the mouse. I was about to say release control, but that's mouse, so... Anyway. All is working fine. I can turn the magnet on, turn the magnet off, and the buffers aren't activating because we are in mouse control mode. There we are, as I was trying to say. This buffer here is permanently active though, because as you can see on the bottom eye, it's always facing the drone core, which is to the left, activating this right buffer. So, I can also turn this off manually. Lovely. Let's give it back control. So right now, the mouse has no control at all. I can't do anything with the satellite. Once it gets above the target, it should activate both buffer gates, which turns off the magnet and thus drops the resources. And probably throws them too far forwards as well, so I will have to fix that once I add resources. Perfect. Once again, manual control, so now I'm using the mouse. After 10 seconds, the buffer on the left will deactivate. It'll be the opposite if I'm going to the left. Come on, hurry up. There we are, and I can activate the magnet like before. It works, but I'm almost not proud of it because it's such a weird system. But it works. Now, the thing I need to do is make it so, A, it's not quite as rocky as that, but also I need to make it so the magnet drops things directly downwards. I guess we could fix that by perhaps adding a sort of chute system, so just some regular blocks going down here, and then it holds the resources in the chute, so it should drop them a bit more elegantly. But that's a problem for when I actually have resources. Testing everything out, as you can see on the mini-map, the drone is currently following us, the satellite that is. Let's grab ourselves some of these yummy resources, thank you very much. I've just built a really, really basic combat harvest drone for this, which should work out okay. A few more resources would be nice, though. I mean, that is a little bit of extra resource, I suppose, but not quite enough. That'll do. Lovely. Now, the one problem is, right now, because we've passed the halfway mark, our drone will go to the right to get home. Actually, no, that's not an issue because of how high up it is. Let's bring the drone down. Hello there. Oh, yeah, I didn't add the sensors yet, did I? Let's not bring the drone down, otherwise we'll end up having all sorts of issues. Now bring the drone down. Lovely. Go back up, please. And I am now pressing go home. So now it carts off with my hat as I build a new one. I'm just going to follow it along to make sure everything goes okay. That is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you for these suggestions, comment section. I do love you. I honestly thought those were enemies then, and that made me jump a little bit. Now, one thing I could have done is made it so that the hat itself goes upwards when you fire it. That way we don't even need to bring the drone down. But then that requires fuel on the hat section, or at least the jump thrusters, which can be a bit weird if we're angled slightly. I think this is still the best way. Okay, you've dropped it, and... yep, that definitely makes it in. Lovely. So, with that, let's go back over to here. Oh, hello. But first, let's get attacked. There we are. One of my shields finally going down. Maybe a bit higher up. Just press space, and as you can see on the map, it is indeed coming back to us. So we can just go about our business doing what we were doing before. And then once we find some more resources, the drone will be back to us, so we can give it the resources, it will go back home over and over again. It's all automated. Fantastic. You could even have it so it would cycle. Go to the mouse, then go back over and over again, and just stay in each location for a short space of time. Oh, a little bit of resource wasted there. Actually, a fair bit of resource wasted there. Now, this harvest drone isn't the best. It really isn't. Those top harvesters need to be way lower down, since it's so difficult to grab half that stuff. Is there an easier way in? I feel like I'm doing a lot of effort here for very minimal reward. There we are. Hello. I'll be having you then. Let's kill these fellas. They've glorious rockets. Let's turn on our friend's magnet. There we are. Come on. There you go. And then go home. And it's off. I love that. Once again, a bit of refinement is needed, but great concept. Definitely works out. Pardon me. Also burping now, apparently. In excitement! Well, honestly, I feel like I've done everything I want to do already. We have proven the concept, and so let's just do something a little bit fun and silly to end the episode, and that is test out if the slowed down rockets do make a ball of death a little bit better than the sped up rockets. Now, I did have enough money to go ahead and purchase all of that earlier, so... ta-da! Basic blaster, let's add the slowdown effect. Where are you, slowdown effect? There we are. Let's go with minus 80. We could go with minus 80 and minus 40, which I believe is below 0, which would be interesting. But I'm assuming it just turns it into a bomb, which would also be interesting. Ooh. Damage downgrade minus 100%. That's interesting as well. So you just have it for the effect, like cold or heat. That's cool. So do no damage, only the heat effect. And then, of course, we could also unlock the highest damage upgrade, which I'm going to do as well to replace this one. So replace you, and then you can be minus 80%. As you can see, they are incredibly slow. So, back to editor. Test flight. Now, this will be a little bit weird, because sadly, yeah, that satellite acts weirdly in this mode. Anyway. No, it seems like it also uses the rocket force to turn. That's not going to work out, even if we add the lifetime back. That's a shame. Yeah, it doesn't make them any more agile. I was hoping the turning would be separate from the speed or the rocket force of the thing. Sadly, that doesn't seem to be the case. Is there anything else we could do? Maybe... shoot force. Maybe the shoot force rather than the rocket force. Maybe air resistance would help. There's lots of stuff we can mess around with, but sadly, it isn't with rocket force. Which I was really hoping it would be. I was assuming that would be the one to do it, but oh well, doesn't matter too much. Life is life and all that. Now, there we go, that looks better, doesn't it? We could grab accuracy next. But for now, let's go back to what it was. So we have the damage upgrade, we have homing, and I like the bonus rocket force, please. You know what though, let's test out with 0 rocket force. Yep, basically acts like a bomb. So it's only the shoot force affecting it, nothing else. So I assume you'd need gravity with them as well. Gravity added. Yep, slowly falling. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of uses for that, honestly, but not really for this particular drone. So sadly, we are going to stick with what we already had. And with that, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's episode, which really, really hurts because there are so many more things I want to do with this little satellite, but for now, there is nothing else I can do in the little bit of time I've got left. I've really enjoyed today, and this is an idea I will be fleshing out as soon as I can play more Nimbatus. All week this week, and including the weekend, is utterly insane for me. There have been construction projects going on around the apartment and inside the apartment. I have loads of other stuff planned which I'm working on in the background, family things I need to attend to, just lots of insanity at the moment, but by the end of the week we will be back to the normal schedule and normal recording times, so I should be able to flesh out these ideas a lot more. So with that, I really do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then of course, likes, favourite, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Nimbatus is a series you wish to see continued in the future. Next time, we make this better. Although, I am really happy with it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.